Hi, this is the Recklessly Skeptical podcast. My name is Joe.
And I'm Josh.
I'm Matt.
You can find us on Spreaker, and you can also find us on YouTube, Recklessly Skeptical. Also, you can find our individual YouTube channels, which is The Evil Atheists and ZZZ Giant Awake. Also, come to our Facebook group page, The Evil Atheists, and have a good time with us.
And guys, please like and follow and support us by subscribing. All of those things help us out a lot. Like, the only way we can get exposure for our stories is through you guys.
And if you like any of the videos or any of the podcasts, feel free to share them. You know, go ahead and share them.
Yep.
And just one little side note, The Evil Atheists, atheist is plural. If you don't put an S at the end, you might not find us.
Yes, The Evil Atheists.
All right, and so kind of to introduce the subject today, this is something that Joe's wanted to do for a minute, and then I was kind of against it because I didn't see enough substance there to go after her, and I trusted the regular media to go after this story because this is a big deal. Hillary Clinton has been wrong on a lot of issues and wrong for a number of years,
Yep.
and she's also been playing like she's more. If she was running as a centrist, there wouldn't be much here, except for the last point that we're going to get to. I'm going to highlight the last point I'm going to try and do it or marker it as the first thing in the description because the last point, if you don't listen to anything else, please listen to the last point that we have to make about Hillary Clinton. It's important. But yeah, so we're going to go through. This is going to be essentially what Bernie Sanders won't do. This is going to be an attack on Hillary Clinton in a sense. This is going to be a breakdown of all the things that we disagree with Hillary on and that she has done wrong and how she's only faking to be a progressive when she's actually not. So without further ado, this is Hillary Clinton destroyed. All right, so we're going to talk about 5 different main points. The first one is we're going to talk about is she good for the black community? Has she been good for the black community in the past? And if I were an African American or black American, would I vote for her? My answer is no.
Yeah, she's not good for the black community at all.
And unfortunately, and with all of these, we're only going to be able to touch the tip of the iceberg on the actual substance of the stories, but we're going to get to some substance, and that's what's important. To start off, the biggest criticism of her that exists and that should exist, because she was a major proponent of the reform for how we police black communities and communities in general in 1996 when her husband Bill Clinton was in office. They wanted to get tough on crime. They wanted to reinvigorate that concept. Tough on crime, 3 strikes policies,
Yep.
Things like that. So here is Hillary Clinton speaking on that point.
And we have actually been making progress on this count as a nation because of what local law enforcement officials are doing, because of what citizens and neighborhood patrols are doing. We're making some progress. Much of it is related to the initiative called community policing, because we have finally gotten more police officers on the street. That was one of the goals that the president had when he pushed the crime bill that was passed in 1994. He promised 100,000 police. We're moving in that direction, but we can see it already makes a difference, because if we have more police interacting with people, having them on the streets, we can prevent crimes. We can prevent petty crimes from turning into something worse. But we also have to have an organized effort against gangs. Just as in a previous generation we had an organized effort against the mob. We need to take these people on. They are often connected to big drug cartels. They are not just gangs of kids anymore. They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel. And the president has asked the FBI to launch a very concerted effort against gangs everywhere.
And that makes me absolutely sick. Like,
Yeah.
if you understand the context of what she's talking about. She's talking about in urban communities, essentially black children. And she's talking about what has been probably the most destructive aspect of policing with the black community, which is active community. It's
Broken window policing.
Yeah, it's now referred to as broken window policing. It's where you send en masse police to over patrol areas to find things that are wrong and try and stop major crimes from happening by cracking down on minor crimes.
Mm-hmm.
This is essentially like the war on drugs got hyper essentially pumped up because of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Thousands of black families have been torn apart. lots of jail hours that aren't necessary for people doing things that we do, like in regular suburban communities, like smoking pot or jaywalking or hanging out in the wrong area for long, loitering, skateboarding on parking, or skateboarding where you shouldn't, doing things where you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Like, these are just small, minor crimes that they really crack down on.
And a lot of people have lost their lives because of this. You know, if you're a young person and maybe you're smoking a little weed or doing something that's illegal, and a cop stops you and is a complete fucking ass to you, and you resist even in the slightest, and you get fucking shot and killed. It's this broken window policing that it's costing people their lives because they go to prison, and it's costing their lives in the literal sense if they get fucking shot and killed.
And what's crazy is Hillary Clinton, what happened with most of that stuff? Okay, so in the early 90s, manufacturing jobs plummeted in the U.S., okay? And a lot of these jobs were located in black communities and places such as that. And so, of course, crime's going to pick up a little bit and stuff. And so even when Bill Clinton was running in 1992, his platform was the economy. We got to fix the economy for African Americans and this. He got a lot of the African American vote. But then when he gets into office, they turn around. Hillary helps him out with this. We're going to just get tough on crime. We're not going to go towards the source of the crime. And yeah, she even says that in that fucking video about how
I was about to say that.
We can talk about it later on. Well, did she ever fucking get to later on? Did she ever fucking talk about how these super predators got that way? No, she never did. Want to know why? Because she fucking helped caused it and stuff. When you push jobs out of America, crime's going to go up because families aren't. It's going to be harder on families. They're going to start breaking the law. They might steal in order to go pawn something to get some fucking food on the table. And then so you come in and you get tough on those people. No, bring the fucking jobs back.
Yeah, and one of the things, there are a few things that I really want to point out. I want to emphasize that she said the word kids. These kids.
Yeah.
So, and then I also, words matter. When you're talking about super predators, the only time super predators was used was to talk about black people. Like, it was not a term used about white children or white kids or white teenagers or white adults. It was always about black adults and black children and black teens. So this is something that is very racially charged. Also, the reason we need, and I think that Black Lives Matter does play an important role, and they are protesting something that is real. And when you listen to that speech, realize that this is what precipitated the reason for having Black Lives Matter. This is not the cause of it. And Matt, do you want to talk about Project Zero for a second?
So if you are against Black Lives Matter or you don't know what their platform is, go Google Project Zero and go look at their platform. All of I think there's 10
points.
10 points, and they are all agreeable. And they're not specifically for black people, because I know a lot of people will say, oh, all lives matter. The point is, all these things they want to change will help everybody, but the things they want to change affect African Americans more.
Yeah.
But they are things that need to be corrected in the system itself.
And it would help everybody. It wouldn't just help black people, and I'm sure a lot of white people out there are scared. Oh, it's just going to help all the black people. It's going to make my life worse. No, it's going to help everyone.
Yes.
And especially African Americans, and it should. We should be helping everybody out, and we should be helping each other. And Hillary Clinton has not shown that at all.
Yeah, and so she recently tried to go back on the statement she made years ago.
Yeah.
And I have a quote. She said, quote, "In that speech, I was talking about the impact violent crime and vicious drug cartels were having on communities across the country, and the particular danger they pose to children and families. Looking back, I shouldn't have used those words, and I wouldn't use them today." Yes. End quote.
And so there's an admission of guilt in there. She knew that she was talking about black people there.
Yeah.
But the bullshit part of it is that she's using those words to go after children herself. Like, she's talking about criminally prosecuting children. So she's trying to protect children by by taking them into the system. The system is not the route you want your children to go with rehabilitation or anything like that.
But, of course, Hillary Clinton's getting quite a bit of money from private prison lobbyists, and so she wants people to go to prison, and in jail in order to receive more campaign money from these people.
Well, and she's kind of reversed her stance on that. But here's how you kind of know that the proof is in the pudding. And give me 1 second to get the next clip loaded
I've noticed the only time she reverses her stance on anything is when someone points out how screwed... Did you pause it? No, okay. How screwed up and how horrible of a thing she's doing. And then people point it out, and then she's like, oh, shit, I'm going to change my stance on that.
And I just want to make a quick correction. I said Project Zero, but it's actually Campaign Zero. So you guys can go to joincampaignzero.org, and you can see all the points that Black Lives Matter, what their objective is.
Yep, and I'm going to introduce the next clip. And really, I want to emphasize that actions speak louder than words. If she really cared about what the black community said, she would address it every time it came up, because it's an important thing that she was very wrong on. So there's an activist, a young black activist, who paid, I think it was somewhere in the range of $250 to $500 to get into this Clinton fundraiser, which is just a regular fundraiser for people to kind of go into the community. This woman, I don't know if she had help, paid for it to get in, and
her and somebody else.
Yep, and she was like the only black person in the room. There's a picture that's pretty astounding to see who she was in with, and it was all white people besides this one young black woman. And she walks to the front of the room and holds up a sign, and that sign reads, "Bring them to Hill," and that's what it says. I'm going to play the audio for it now so you can get a feeling for whether Hillary Clinton cares about this individual or not.
With body cameras. There's more work to be done, but got to lay down these markers. You got to build toward common sense gun reform, criminal justice reform, and all the like. So I think we've got somebody saying here, we have to bring them to heel. Okay, we'll talk about it.
I'm not a super predator, Hillary Clinton.
Okay, fine, we'll talk about it.
Do you apologize to black people for mass incarceration?
Well, can I talk, and then maybe you can listen to what I say? Okay, fine. Thank you very much. There's a lot of issues in this campaign. The very first speech that I gave back in April was about criminal justice reform and about
predators.
You're being rude.
Super predators. That's rude. That's rude.
Now, do you want to hear the facts, or you just want to talk?
I know that you called black youth super predators in 1994. Please explain the record. Explain it to us. You owe black people an apology.
Well,
People of color an apology.
I'll tell you what, if you will give me a chance to talk, I'll approach your side. You know what? Nobody's ever asked me before. You're the first person to ask me, and I'm happy to address it, but you are the first person to ask me here. Okay, back to the issues.
Back to the issues is the last sentence she said as soon as the lady was ushered out of the room.
And you know what really bothers me is people were hissing at her and saying that that's rude and uncalled for. Well, what about the mass incarceration of the African-American community? Is that not rude or uncalled for? And someone brought it to light and was bringing it to light to Hillary and stuff, and all they do is hiss at her. I'm sorry that your $500 ticket to your little private meeting with Hillary Clinton didn't go exactly how you fucking wanted it to go.
And that's a great perspective, that, hey, I'm going to inconvenience you for 5 minutes, so you're going to get bitter at me. Sorry for inconveniencing you for just a minute. Sorry. But really, you're talking about the black community has not been just a little inconvenienced.
Yeah,
they
have been shit on.
This isn't some small little thing. It's people's lives, and it's a huge, big thing that's been going on for, when did they pass this? 1994, 1996? So it's been 20 years of injustice thrown upon a lot of black communities, and then she wants to brush it aside and say, let's get back to the issues.
Yeah.
And so
apparently that's not an issue.
And here's another clip of a woman who's talking to Hillary Clinton, and she's essentially like challenging Clinton on whether she has a plan to address diversity of elected officials, so trying to get more representation in government, and what Hillary Clinton thinks on that. And they have a small disagreement. The sound of the interaction between them is inaudible, which is unfortunate. But Clinton's she's a young black woman, And so listen to Clinton's, again, really dismissive remark towards her.
You know what, dear? You have a different opinion. He is a Somali American elected to the city council. I'm really proud of that. Well, then why don't you go run for something then?
I'm working for a Somali American.
Well, good. Good luck to you.
Well, then good luck to you, and starts laughing at her.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
Yep. And unless there's anything else we want to cover on this, we need to move forward. There was one last clip I wanted to play on. It's something that the Young Turks put together. The title of this clip is called "Prominent Black Activists Want to Set the Record Straight on Hillary Clinton," and it's a bunch of African American activists, people of color, talking about Hillary Clinton in short, and who have an understanding of what she's said and done in the past. Some of it, unfortunately, is written, so I'm going to have to read it. But and the music in the background is a little distracting, but I think it's worth it. So here we go.
Okay.
Hillary Clinton says she's a friend of Black America. This is February 16th of 2016.
We have to demonstrate a sustained commitment to building opportunity, creating prosperity, and righting wrongs. Not just every 2 or 4 years, not just when the cameras are on and people are watching, but every single day.
There are people who are on the streets and involved in this movement who were there in '96 when the Welfare Reform Act was passed. They were there in 1994 when the Violent Crime Act was passed. They have a sense of how Clinton had a part in proliferating and spreading a lot of the problems that we're talking about now.
It's a very well thought out crime bill that is both smart and tough. And we will eventually get a good crime bill like the president has proposed. It'll just take a little longer than it should have.
In addition to what we saw, which is her speaking the talking points of the prison guards lobby, we also saw her come out to invoke the idea of super predators to push for these crime bills.
They are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
It was never used to describe anyone white. It was always used to describe young black men as a mass, and it made life very tough for us.
Well, you know, Hillary Clinton's an old friend, but they're not friends in politics. We profoundly disagreed with the forms of the welfare reform bill.
I think it's absurd to suggest she's a friend of children who are in need or families. This is a woman who, when her husband was governor, I first met her at that time, they were bragging about their welfare reform, which destroyed what existed of support for poor children in Arkansas. Then as president, her husband, with her full-throated approval, destroyed the aid to families with dependent children, which has 70% of the people on that program were children.
Senator Obama's support among hardworking Americans, white Americans, is weakening again.
Hardworking white Americans. I mean, Hillary Clinton flat out said it.
Her electability argument boils down, in effect, to working class white Americans are not ready to vote for a black American president.
Yeah, it was fairly shocking. I suppose at this rate, by the time we get to Kentucky, it'll be segregation now, segregation forever.
It happened again last week when this photo of Obama was featured prominently on the internet and attributed to people in the Clinton campaign.
You don't believe that Senator Obama's a Muslim?
Of course not. I mean, that's, that there is no basis for that. I take him on the basis of what he says, and, there isn't any reason to doubt that.
You said you take Senator Obama at his word that he's not a Muslim. You don't believe that he's a Muslim?
No, why would I? There's there is nothing to base that on, as far as I know. As leaders, we have a choice who we associate with and who we apparently give some kind of seal of approval to. And I think that it wasn't only the specific remarks, but some of the relationships with Reverend Farrakhan, with giving the church bulletin over to the leader of Hamas to put a message in. These are problems, and they raise questions in people's minds.
After those precedents, there are those who see a pattern to hear the kind of casual prejudice which still haunts this society voiced, and to not distance the campaign from it.
So that video is heartbreaking to me, and I had to stop it partway through. We don't have the time to allow the whole thing to go on, and we might end up having to split this into 2 separate episodes anyways. But we have to move forward to our next point, which is on campaign finance reform. She talks about it on stage in the debates about how she's going to be the toughest one. Like, she has the toughest plan on Wall Street, and she's going to do the toughest campaign finance reform to date. And she's going to be tougher than Bernie Sanders, which is asinine.
Which is complete bullshit, especially, I mean, just go to HillaryClinton.com, look at her points, go to Bernie Sanders, look at his points. She has 3 and he has like 6.
Yeah, but we're going to talk mainly about Hillary Clinton's points. And for us, we have a really clear idea of what we want as campaign finance reform, and we'll give that to you in a minute. But let's start with Hillary's version. Matt, do you have those pulled up?
Yeah, so she has 3 points. The first one is overturn Citizens United. The second one is end secret, unaccountable money in politics. And the third is amplify the voices of everyday Americans.
Yeah, by doing small donor matching systems.
Yes.
So Citizens United is essentially the law that made corporations into people, or states that corporations are to people.
Big mistake by the Supreme Court in my mind.
Yep, huge.
Huge.
Unaccountable money in politics is what we refer to as dark money. It's money that goes to PACs that's not traceable to any individual or business. And so we don't know where it's coming from. So that money is not on, like, when you look at opensecrets.org or opensecrets.com, whatever that is, to look up where the donations towards a campaign are coming from. You can only see the not dark money. So when it comes to dark money, we don't know where it's coming from. And it's most likely coming from a lot of the same sources. It's just probably grossly tied to how the politician votes, and they don't want it to be as apparent to us.
Yeah.
And then small donor matching systems, I'm not sure what Hillary means by that, but I'm not satisfied with it. Like, what, she's going to have money that doesn't come... She wants money in politics, just money that comes from a different area. We have a very clear idea of what we want. Matt, do you have that pulled up?
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, you really need to go check it out. Go to wolf-pac.com. It's a movement trying to get the 28th Amendment passed. The Wolf Pac resolution is basically just to get money out of politics, to end super PACs. And right now there's no specific language in the amendment because they want to discuss it and hear all sides when we go to if we get it and can go to the convention, amendment convention.
I like to say when I can tell you that that's not true, because especially when you think you're right.
What?
They have the specific wording for the 28th Amendment.
No, well, they have one statement they want in it, so it is right here. It's corporations are not people. They have none of the constitutional rights of human beings. Corporations are not allowed to give money to any politician directly or indirectly. No politician can raise over $100 from any person or entity. All elections must be publicly financed. Now, they just say that that should be the core value. The core value's in there, but they will not have any specific language.
Yeah, I gotcha. Never mind. I thought you didn't know about that.
So you were saying that he was wrong.
But really,
but in
you
fact,
were wrong.
You were wrong by implying that he was wrong.
Yeah, so I was wrong for that point. But they have some well-worded statements that need to be incorporated in.
Yes,
Yeah,
and there is a note that the finished legislation will be worded differently and have to account for inflation. So that $100, will change over time. And I think this is great because there will be no backdoor deals if this 28th Amendment passes. It will be $100 donations from either a person or an entity, and that will help the politicians do what the American people want to be done.
Well, and the bulk of where their financing money would come from is the government. It would come from tax dollars, not from... And this essentially would just be a tax relief to help them amplify their voice at $100 a piece at a time.
Yes, because when you file your taxes, you can donate money right there.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if a lot of our listeners know this, but what this is it's So you get these corporations, they donate money to your politician and stuff. And then your politician, to get votes, tells you that they are going to do all this for you. But then when they get into office, what they do is they turn around and pass votes for people who gave them the most money and who is more buddy-buddy with them and whatnot. And so no matter what most of these politicians tell you, when they get into office, especially if they're receiving large donations from these corporations and CEOs and these banksters, they turn around and do stuff for them, not for you. And I think Princeton released a study. It says no matter what, if 100% of the American people wanted a law to pass, the 90% of the bottom American people wanted a law to pass, there's only 30% of a chance it'll pass. If none of us wanted a law to pass, there's still a 30% chance that it will pass. Yet, the 1%, the top rich people, these corporations, these people who donate money to your politicians, if they want a law to pass, I think it's like a 90% chance it'll pass. If they don't, there's a 90% chance that it won't. So that's the thing. Your government is not owned by you, the 90%, anymore. It is owned by the top 1%. They pass laws for the top 1%, not you.
And all right, so and that's true. I think that maybe you're exaggerating a little bit with the 90% chance when 90% of rich people. I think it was more like 70%. But you're right.
Actually, I think it was higher than that. Actually,
but you're right in essence, and we'll have the link for that in the description for sure.
Yeah, I'll look up the study right now.
So now this is OpenSecrets.org. They are a little biased in the way that they don't include certain like individual donations. And Hillary has raised a number of individual donations from regular American citizens, so I do want to commend her on that. But on this one, it talks about where she's gotten her money from over her lifetime as being in politics. And she's gotten $7 million from the Soros Fund Management, $3.5 million from Euclid Capital. The Pritzker Group is $2.8 million. The Sabin Capital Group is $2.53 million. So she's getting money from oil companies and banks, like lots of it, over the period of her process. And she says, "Oh yeah, they're not. These aren't corruptive. These aren't corrosive. This doesn't affect me at all." And it's so weird that she says that. Like, why? And Bernie we'll have a clip of Bernie pointing out what we think the flaw is. But Matt, what do you think about that?
It's astonishing. Looking at these numbers, I honestly haven't been to this website before or looked at these specific numbers. That top one, Soros, $7 million.
Yeah, this is Soros, and it's the company that George Soros owns, or Jorge. I can't remember how he goes by, but yeah, he's a billionaire from Nevada, if I remember right, and he donates lots of money to have kind of a say. And I mean, how this is kind of the point I was hoping that you would nail in that. How do you expect people? I mean, so the American people have a voice. How do you think that if you're running as a politician and someone's saying, "Oh, I'll donate $50 million," or not $50 million, sorry, $50,000 to your campaign if you just give me some time to talk to you about my opinion. But when it comes to us regular Americans, how much time do you think that these national politicians have to spend with people? And how do you think they select who they're going to listen to?
Yeah, we get zero time. I mean, they can go and look at the polls and see what the American people want, but we're not donating $7 million, to one guy. It's unrealistic to think that she's going to be on the side of the people when one guy gives her $7 million and another one gives her $3.5 million and another group gives her almost $3 million,
Yeah, and this is, so for this cycle alone, and this is the New York Times, it's talking about people who have people or groups who have donated more than $1 million. And in this election cycle, according to the New York Times, George Soros has donated $7 million in this cycle. Let's move forward to her other donors. S. Donald Susan, founder and chairman of Paloma Partners, Lori Woods is the Bay Area philanthropist. Let's see. Barbara Lee, also founder of the Barbara Lee Family Foundation, Barbara Lee Political Office. So she's taking lots of money from these people. So when she gets on stage and says she's for campaign finance reform, she wouldn't even be on that stage if it wasn't for campaign financing that she's getting from millionaires and billionaires and hedge fund groups and special interest groups and her super PAC. Like, she wouldn't even have a stage to stand on.
Yep, and it's interesting that on March 21st, her and Chairman John Podesta and a handful of lobbyist titans are scheduled to host a fundraiser for Hillary Victory Fund.
Yeah, it's called the Hillary Victory Fund. This is her way of collecting money from lobbyists going into the general election. She's essentially ignoring Bernie Sanders and the whole time that they've been arguing about campaign finance reform, who's going to be harder on the banks, and so forth and so on.
Yep. And to jump to Bernie just for a second, when you go to his page and look at his points, what he wants to do if he's president, he specifically says he will end super PACs.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton does not say that. Her 3 points are kind of vague and not specific, and they just sound catchy. But Bernie has specifics of things he will do.
Yeah, and that's what I really love about him. Sorry, let's get back to Hillary though.
Yep, and actually we're going to get back to Bernie we're going to get back to Hillary by getting back to Bernie. Yeah. So here's
menage a trois.
Yeah, here's Bernie Sanders' own words of why we shouldn't listen to Hillary Clinton on this campaign finance reform and how it's absurd to think that she's taking money and not being affected by it. But here's his words.
People aren't dumb. Why in God's name does Wall Street make huge campaign contributions? I guess just for the fun of it. They want to throw money around. Why does the pharmaceutical industry make huge campaign contributions? Any connection, maybe, to the fact that our people pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs? Why does the fossil fuel industry spend huge amounts of money on campaign contributions? Any connection to the fact that not one Republican candidate for president thinks and agrees with the scientific community that climate change is real and that we have got to transform our energy system? And when we talk about Wall Street, let's talk about Wall Street. I voted for Dodd-Frank, got an important amendment in it. My view, it doesn't go anywhere near far enough. But when we talk about Wall Street, you have Wall Street and major banks have paid $200 billion in fines since the great crash. No Wall Street executive has been prosecuted.
All right. Well,
yeah, so that's the clip.
So I have a quote from Hillary, and it feeds into this. So she said, quote, "You can wave your arms and give a speech, but at the end of the day, are you connecting with and really hearing what people are either saying to you or wishing that you would say to them?" And she's referring to Bernie. Now, she's saying that Bernie isn't on the side of the people right there.
Yeah.
And it's total bullshit when he doesn't have a super PAC, and his average donation is $27, and she's getting millions of dollars from people, and she wants to throw this slanderous shit out that's completely untrue.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders already has broken Obama's records by individual contributions. He's listening to the people, and so she makes a slandering remark like that, makes him look bad when in fact it's
projection.
It's projection.
It's her.
It's her. Exactly. I agree.
Thanks, guys. This is the end of Hillary Clinton Destroyed Part 1, but join us for Part 2.
Yeah, we were hoping to do this all in one episode, but it's not happening.
Yeah, we ran out of time. There's so much Hillary Clinton is filled with so much crap, I should say, that we have to
split it up,
do another episode.
So look for that.
So join us.
Yes.
And we love you all.
Yeah.
I feel like we weren't prepared for this right here.
Yes, we were. All right. Join us on Recklessly Skeptical on YouTube and Spreaker, and also make sure to like, follow, subscribe, all that jazz. It really helps us out. Thanks.
Yep.